me begin to record. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today in this weather. It's a very gloomy day, and thank you very much for joining in. And we are learning about math. We are learning about the math practicals. We do have a lot of lessons right from the previous classes. We understood that math is all around the children right from day one, and right from where we actually grow. And it is also there in our day-to-day life when we actually work with people or go outside. Math is always being contributing a lot and has a great relationship in our lives, right? So this is something that we learned about it. And in the entire Montessori classes, what we would be working is not only about the pre-mathematical skills, but we would learn about arithmetic. Arithmetic is also one part wherein we deal with shapes, sizes, space, relationships, attributes, numbers, number systems, symbols. Then we would also be working with materials to help us work on this. So we work on computation, we work on decimal system, we work on whole numbers. And towards the end, you would also see children will be introduced to fractions and positive numbers. These are a few part of our arithmetic lessons. Yes, no doubt we would do operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. That will all be a part. What is very important for a teacher when you want to work on these operations as a teacher, you should be able to prepare your work environment, right? So your preparation, your prepared environment is something which is very important. Environment, the teacher sets up the environment. She prepares everything, the tables, the desks, the chairs, whatever is a required material, everything is being set. From there, we move on to introducing numbers for our children. We work for numbers 1 to 10. To introduce numbers from 1 to 10, we saw materials. We used the first one was number rods. Number rods was one of the Montessori material which we used to introduce numbers from 1 to 10. From there, we wanted to see how the quantity looks like. So we used something called as sandy numbers or sandpaper numbers. When you wanted to associate the numbers to the quantity, we used the number rods. Along with the number rods, we also used the cards. Now, how many cards we had? Cards from 1 to 10. Correct? Now, to introduce the concept of zero, we use a material called spindle box. Spindle box is one such material which will have how many spindles? It will have 45 spindles it would have, wherein we are introducing numbers from 1 to 9. Along with that, when there is a compartment which says about the zero, we say that zero means nothing. One such material that we use to introduce the concept of zero. Now, towards the end, when the children have to understand whether the number is odd or even, we have to use a material called cards and counters. Now, these were a few of the materials we saw in the previous class. And from there, we went to Dasara vacation. And today, we are coming back with the next part of it, which is called the decimal system. Now, can you tell me what is a decimal system? Anyone? What is a decimal system? Hmm?
Introducing about quantity.
Very good. Introducing quantity, yeah.
And, 0 place, 10 place,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
1,
basically,
sorry,
yes.
1 place,
Correct.
1 place, 10 place, 100 place.
Correct. Yes. Correct. Yes.
Ones,
Okay.
tens, hundreds,
Integers
thousands.
and non-integer numbers.
What?
Study about integer and non-integers.
Studying about integers, non-integers. Very good. Anything else? Think.
Yes.
What is the basic thing that we would be introducing to our children? See, first we start with something
This
called
one,
place value. Correct?
place
What is the
value.
place value? Whether it is in ones position, tenth position, hundreds or thousands. So we work in the decimal system. Anytime that you are given a question like this, why do you use a decimal system? It's only because we want to introduce a place value to children. Correct? And now this can also include integers. When you say integers, what are integers, Niveda? Whole numbers. I can put integers as whole numbers. And your non-integers
Yes,
are but your fractions or decimals. Correct? So we would be using
Decimal
our
system.
entire decimal system, or we call it as a base 10 system, to introduce numbers to our children. So we work with place value, we work with face value, we work with integers, non-integers. So integers are basically the whole numbers and non-integers are your decimal points. Now, when we talk about place values in the decimal system, how do you define? How do you tell to children? Now, one's place is the first position, correct? So do we give them the position to our children? Do we tell them what is the position? We tell them, right? This is the one's position. And where is the one's position?
It's in the end of the.
Yes.
That is
So we have to always tell them this is one's position is the first position. This is what you would introduce to the children. And it is always towards the left of the decimal point. And that represents the units. This is what we would be telling. Say, for example, now say suppose in case you take a number, say 142, which number is in the ones position?
2.
It's the
2.
number 2. So you can write what is the ones position to 2. So this is how you might actually introduce it to children who are a little older. But when it comes down to the toddlers, it becomes very difficult for them to understand the place value and the face value. So we don't introduce this at the basic thing, but what we do to make it easier, we use materials in our Montessori classes. The first one that we use is called as the golden beads. Now in golden beads, you would introduce a quantity right from 1 to 9,999. But you will have two kinds of materials over here. One is where it will introduce only 1,000, 100, 10 and 1. That means 1,000 is represented by a cube, 100 by a square, 10 by a bar, and 1 by a bead. Okay. Why is such a thing that is being introduced is something that we would be looking at. Now, say for example, if I want to show to children about the golden beads, I might give them a good material, right? I might show them the material. So you take children and you tell them, children, this is what I'm going to be introducing for all of you today. The material is called the golden beads. And how do you choose? You either sit on the floor, or what you do, you actually take the children to the space where it is being kept. Let me quickly show you that material. So you can also use the symbol cards when you're introducing, or you first introduce the quantity and then introduce the symbols accordingly. Okay. So here's a small glimpse of how we do that. This is how you can actually bring your material. Now, can you see? One is represented by a small bead. When 10 such small beads are tied together, this is your 10. 10 tens are being tied together to make one square, and 10 hundreds have been stacked together to make a cube. So you have a quantity of 1, 10, 100 and 1,000. Now coming down to the symbols, how it looks. 1,000 will be represented by 1,000, 100 by 100, 10 by 10 and 1 by 1. If you see, they're all color coded. Let's quickly see how we can actually demonstrate. If you don't want to introduce the symbols right away, you can skip that. Or if you want to introduce simultaneously, you can also introduce both of them. How do we work over here is always by a 3-period lesson. Now, what is 3-period lesson? You show the quantity to the child. You tell them, children, this is 1. 10 ones make 110. 10 tens make 100. 10 hundreds make 1,000. So you ask them, you play games. Unless and until the child understands this, you keep repeating. Now you take the smallest bead, you show them this is 1. Let the child experience how tiny the unit is, and you tell them this is 1. Now, slowly you encourage the child to take that bead in the hand and let them count on the tens bar. Now, when you're doing this, what happens here is like the child understands that this is such a small one. What is its place value? We're not going to say anything. We're only working with the quantity here, not the symbol. We're not showing them how it looks, only the quantity. Always use a mat so that the beads will not roll off. This is one prepared exercise that you need to do. Always one's bead needs to be kept in a small bowl. Now you take your 10 bar and start comparing. Now you can take your one's bead and start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the child understands, oh, 10 beads are making up 110. And any time that we hear 10, you have to replace that with a golden bead bar. Now 10 tens can make 100. So this is 110. Now you can hold it in your hand And now you take the other square and start counting with the children. Okay. And the child will now understand, okay, this is 100 and 10 such tens can make 100. And you start counting, you go very slow. How do you count? 110, 210, 310, 410, 510, 610, 710, 810, 910, 10 tens. So 10 tens makes 100. Now, these are the lessons that you would introduce in the first part of your golden beads. In the first part of your golden bead, you will say units are represented by a bead. 10 beads make up 110, 10 tens make up 100, and 10 hundreds make up 1 cube. And the child will now understand how big the number system is growing and how big the decimal system can actually grow. You do the same thing for your hundreds, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and 10 hundreds. So 10 hundreds can make up 1000. So this is how this basic first lesson of your decimal system is all about. So you can give this entire cube for the child to hold in their hand. Let them experience how big is 1000 and how small is number 1. They get that identification. Now you keep all of that on the mat and you can say that this is ones, this is tens, this is hundreds. Okay, so you can jumble and you can ask questions. Can you give me 1? Can you give me 110? Can you give me 100? Can you show me where is 1000? So this is your 3-period lesson. Now you can ask the children, reshuffle unless and until the child is very sure of it. Reshuffle. Okay, keep questioning. So this becomes your 3-period lesson and arrange them back in their place values. So ones would go to the ones place, tens would go to the tens place, and hundreds to the 100 place. Now, once the child learns about it, even in the tray, it needs to be kept in its own position. Okay, so this is your first lesson that we're going to be working on. Now,
நாளைக்கு
the,
work மாத்திக்கோ
yeah, yeah. Now, the second part, what you do here is like, this is the basic material. Now, you can use another material, which is an extension one, wherein you will have many cubes, just like this. See, can you see many cubes are there? So this is your second material in your golden beads, wherein you will have many thousands, many hundreds, many 10 bars, and many ones beads. Okay. Why do we use this? Is like, say, for example, if the teacher asks, can you give me 3 tens? The child can immediately give 3 tens. If the teacher asks, can you give me like, 200s? The child should be able to give 200s. Or if the teacher says, okay, children, this is the material and let's identify how does it look like. So how does it look like? We pick another material which is called symbols in Montessori. Okay, so symbols, how does a symbol look like? Your units will be represented in green color. Your tens will be represented in blue color. Your hundreds will be represented in red color. And your thousands again in your green color. Okay, so let's bring the cards and let's identify how those things would look like. So the second or the third part of this exercise is you're associating the quantity to the symbol now. You're getting me? You're associating the quantity to the symbol. We only arrange these 4 quantities. Now we would be arranging these 4 symbols. Yes, Lakshmi, understanding? Okay. So if you remove the 1 by 1 cards, this is how it is going to be. Now what you have to do, you need to place these cards underneath those quantities. So what would you do? Where would you place your 1 to beads, 10 to the bar, 100 to the square, 1000 to the cube. So what did we just do? We associated the quantity to the number. Now you do 3-period lesson. I can shuffle it. I can ask them, can you show me where's 1000? What number is this? The child says, ma'am, this is 1000. This is 100. Okay, so how many zeros in thousands? 3 zeros are there in 1000. The child understands the position of that particular 1000 also. Now this is what you're going to teach them, how to stack them. Can I stack it like this? No, it is not that way. So how do you stack those numbers is also very, very important. Okay, you can shuffle and give it to the child. and you can ask them to stack it properly. So how do I stack? The largest number first, then always from the right side of your side, you're going to slide it down. Can I place it this way? No. Can I place it this way? No. These are all the error of controls the child would do. This becomes 1000. But what was our quantity? It was 1111 when we placed all of those golden beads together. So how did I represent this quantity? This is 1111. I will have to be positioning them in the same way of how do I put them. So I associated quantity to the symbol. This is the third part of this exercise. Clear, everyone? These are the 3 steps that you need to follow. Anytime that they give you, how do you present decimal system to children? You need to do this. They have not asked you to perform addition, subtraction, nothing. It's a basic one, wherein you introduce them to the place values of it. Now say suppose if the child is doing mistake. Should we correct it then and there? No, let them complete. So do not correct the child's error. Just present your lesson one more time because these lessons are little trickier for them because the child is too young to understand this. Only in Montessori we go with bigger numbers. Other schools they don't do. If if your child is in the kindergarten, they don't do it. So that's the reason you redo one more time. Now you can also have cards like this. This is what it's there in your textbook also. So you can also like pick up any of those cards, associate the cards with those beads. You can do that. That is also possible. Okay, this is the writable format of how you do it. Now say if the teacher asks, give me 3 tens. How do you write 3 tens? 30. So you give them the number, you give them the quantity. Okay, this is how you would teach the children towards writing the numbers, associating the numbers accordingly. Okay, now if I say give me 143. So 100, 4 tens, 3 ones. The child is only giving. Now you're also identifying how does the number look like. 1326 is made up of 1300s, 2 tens, and 6 ones. Always go on expanding. Always go on expanding. Okay. So this becomes your first lesson in Montessori in decimal system for your children. Clear, everyone? This is the first thing that you're doing. We're not doing any addition, subtraction, nothing. We would only see for the teens quantity in the next material. How do we use beads to represent those quantities? Such a simple exercise. This is a very beautiful material for your children to understand. Okay, this is your first material. Clear, everyone? So this is golden beads. So what did we do here? What did we do here? Just to have a recap of what did we do? We bought the material. What is the name of the material?
Golden beads.
Golden beads.
Golden.
Okay. Can you explain what is golden beads? Material made up of?
Ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands.
Yes. So it will have beads. It will have ones, tens,
Tens,
hundreds, and
Thousand.
thousands. What are you going to be teaching using this?
place value.
Place value.
Yes, you're going to
Yes,
teach
ma'am.
them the place value. Plus, you're going to teach them what?
Quantity.
Quantity. Very
Of
good.
quantity, and then introducing the numbers, cards.
Using the numbers. Okay, so you will introduce the place value, face value, quantity, and the numbers. Very good. And do you also teach them like how many tens make 100? How many hundreds make 1000? We always do that. So you get into definitions like 10 ones. They make what?
100.
10.
100.
10 ones.
Make 100.
Oh,
110.
10 ones.
110.
10
10
one.
110.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
10 ones makes
10.
110. Yes.
110.
10 tens would make 100.
100.
10
10
hundreds
10
make
make 1000.
1000.
1,000.
Yes. 1000. So this is what you're going to be teaching your children. Okay, so you're basically introducing them the quantity. That's all is what we do. Now, as teachers, what is your goal? How do you introduce your lesson? Always you would start with your
Three
Three
period.
period.
Three periods.
Beginning period, you will introduce what it is. Then you will go with
Then
your recall period. You will ask the children, can you give me that? And then the retention period, you will ask them, what number is this? Always. This has to be your thumb rule. Okay. Nobody is going to tell you, should I use 3 period or should you do that? No. By default, you should be teaching using a 3 period lesson for all your lessons. Okay. Now, what do I do here? Can I make any random introduction to this? Definitely, yes. I can ask children, show me the quantity of 321. If nothing is there in the writing paper, how do you write? How do you represent this? You start drawing 300, so 3 squares, 2 tens, 2 bars, 1 1. So you will always draw also, and at the same time, you would show also. Both should be there. The writable format and the demonstration. Both will be there in your answer sheets. Clear, everybody? And then how do you expand this number? You have to bring your symbol card, 300s. So what is the other thing that you noted? The size of this card is also reducing. Did you notice that? The size of the cards were also reducing. It was occupying only one number space. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. Sometimes what happens, in hurry, the teachers draw every space in the same sizes. No, it has to be slightly lesser. And whatever is the color, for 100 it has to be red. For tens it has to be blue. For ones it has to be green. You have to maintain the color codes when you're writing the numbers also. These are the 3 things that you need to keep in mind when you're doing. So I don't know where will you note it down? Please mark a star. All your color codes, all your place values, positional numbers, everything will be color coded from now on. So wherever you're writing, even when you're writing 321, 3 should be in what color? Red color. 2 should be in what color? Blue color. And your 1 should be in what color? Green color.
Green
What happens? The child understands this is hundreds, this is tens, this is in the ones position. This is what we follow. If you're finding it very difficult, you can go and print these label cards, or you make it once for all and you keep it and you give them randomly. Okay. Make sure you make this effort. Use sketch pens in case if you do not want to use computers and other things, you can make your label cards by yourselves. But keep this in mind when you're trying to make the lesson for your child. Okay.
but 1000 in which color?
1000 is again green color.
Green color. Okay.
Green color. But what happens here is like when you're trying to use something called as a felt mat. Okay. So we would have a felt mat, and the felt mat would also have the following colors. I'll show you. This is how it will have labels on it. But we keep something called as skittles. Okay. Now skittles is where you would be positioning the skittle for 1000, a skittle for tens, a skittle for your 100, but a skittle for your 1000 would be twice the size as your 1. Okay. Now your 10,000 would be the same size as your 1000. Your 1000 double the size of your 100. Now 1
Okay.
lakh, you getting? The skittle sizes would grow. It would grow. That's how your decimal system would look like. The child would be able to differentiate when you're trying to position this on the mats. The mat that we use to perform the problem statements over here would be called as a felt mat. Okay, so Montessori sells these mats. Felt mats are the ones which we use it for math problems. Usually for kindergarten, for the CASA group, we would use only 4-digit problem statements. So your mat will also be restricted to this, and it would have color codes. This entire space is red color, this entire space is blue color. Okay, so this is how it is going to be there. If you don't have a mat, you can use a chart paper, and you can paste different colors of the chart papers in the same way, so the child understands, okay, Anything that is in ones, it has to be in the greens position only. Now say suppose if the teacher says, give me 3 tens. The child, what they will do? The child picks up what? The child picks up 3 tens, right? So golden bead are 1 10, 2 10, and 3 10. He knows it should go in the same position. The child can't place a 10 here. If the teacher says, oh, you want to place a 10 here, but it can't be that way. So what you have to do, the quantity is 10, but can I place a bead bar? No. If the child is still insisting, I want to keep it here, the teacher says, okay, then break it and keep the beads. You can keep 10 beads, but you can't keep 1 bar. Now, what if I want to keep 2 bars? 20 if I want to keep. I can't keep 2 bars, but I have all the freedom to keep 20 small beads. This is what is there. Okay. This is one way of you arranging. But when you're performing addition, you can't have more than 10 here. That is when you bring rule. You can't bring after 9 is 10. So what you do, you take off those 9 beads or 10 beads, you replace it with 1 10 bar. And can I keep it here? Not possible. You have to keep it in the tens position. So that's the reason the 10 bars comes up over here as a carry forward. Now I still have 10 more. I count 10 more. Okay, 10 more beads are there, but can I keep 10 beads over here? No, you replace 10 ones with 110. But can I keep 110 here? Not possible. So where should I keep? I keep this here. So this is what you introduce very slowly, the concept of replacement. 10 ones is making 110, 10 tens is making 100, 10 hundreds is making 1000 to your children. So they slowly understand the concept of positions. They slowly understand the concept of place value. It is not its place, it has to go back to its place. So that's how you teach the children the positions and the placements of numbers very slowly to all of them. Okay, that was the first material. Now using this using this golden beads, what are the different things that you can actually do? You can perform operations. Now, slowly you would introduce operations to children and you say, children, we can introduce addition. Now, what is addition? What is addition? What is addition?
Yeah.
Simple words.
Adding.
Adding.
Adding
What? Adding what?
Adding two numbers.
Quantity of two numbers.
Okay.
adding to
How do you introduce addition to young children? Hmm? How do you introduce to young children? We know addition is adding two things. But for children, how do you explain it? Because you are all preschool teachers, right? So mostly you need to have a lot of hands-on exercises. You need to give them real life examples.
Maybe during the snack time we can say you have one cookies in your hand and I'm
Correct.
giving one more cookies. So how
Correct.
many?
How many you have? Very good. So this is how slowly you will start introducing addition to children, right? So you can always bring situations. You can always bring scenarios to children. You say that, okay, we're all eating. We're all eating now. What are we eating? Cookies. Shika has 2 cookies. And ma'am wants to give one more cookie to Shika. So how many cookies now Shika has? Right? Now you start counting. Otherwise, you can say, like, one day 2 friends were there. So that was Nivi and Lena. And they were collecting flowers in the garden. So Lena had 3 flowers and Nivi had 2 flowers. And both of them, they came back home, they put that into the vase. So how many flowers are there together? And you start counting, right? So then we were like, okay, wow, now you have 5 flowers in total. So whenever you are actually narrating the phrases with children, you should always use the right words. How many together? How many all together? How many in total? Let's add them. Let's put them together. Okay, this is for addition. For subtraction, you can say, oh, Lena had 5 flowers. She gave one to Shika. How many is left over? Or you need to use the right phrases for children. So always use real objects when you're trying to begin these lessons. Don't introduce symbols. Don't introduce the plus symbol equal to another thing. Say, for example, even toys. Can we give toys to children when they're counting, when they're playing with blocks or anything? You can also use that. Even finger counting is really good for children. You can ask them to work on the finger counting also. So visual representation is very, very important for all of us to work. Only once the child gets the concept of addition, you would start introducing symbols. You will teach them, children, whenever we are going to add more, we're going to put a plus sign. And what is in total? When we ask the question, how many in total? We always use a sign called equal to. And this is how you would introduce math problems to children. Always start with that. Okay. So what's the takeaway for children? What did the children learn? They learned vocabulary. What is the vocabulary?
Addition,
Yes,
adding.
they learn the vocabulary. That's very important. Always work on the takeaways. Takeaway, the child should learn vocabulary. Yeah. So they learn addition. So the teacher tells them about, okay, we are going to add. Or you can help them to work on syllabification. It's like addition, not S-H-U-N, but it is T-I-O-N. So you give them this rule also. As I said before, math teacher should also teach children how to read. And what is the other thing that we learned about? So we are putting two or more groups together. The child is also learning another keyword here when they go together. Okay, so it has to be this word. This you need to introduce in your lesson. Okay, when we are putting two things together or more of the objects together, we're getting something. What is that? We're getting something in total. So we can use this word also as the keyword. Okay, so we are going to be using together, total, addition. These are the ones that we will always be using. As teachers, what would you introduce? You will always draw. Okay, why we should always draw? Whenever you say something, you please draw. Okay, Sarah had one apple, Shweta had two apples. Now, when we put them together, how many do we have in total? Okay, so when you're writing also on the board, try to use in the same way so the children would be able to engage with you. That becomes the basic idea of addition and the child will be able to grasp it quickly. Always draw on the boards also in the same way. Okay, so that becomes your addition part. Now the child understood the concept of addition. Now we go back to using our golden beads. Okay, so I want everybody to disconnect and quickly connect me back on the same link.